Grade products, backed by real person support and in-depth online resources, so she can tackle every task with precision and turn potential setbacks into streamlined success. Call clickgranger.com or just stop by. Granger, for the ones who get it done.
You can host the best backyard barbecue when you find a professional on Angie to make your backyard the best around. Connect with skilled professionals to get all your home projects done well. Inside to outside, repairs to renovations. Get started on the Angie app or visit Angie.com today. You can do this when you Angie that.
Vanguard is 100% client-owned, serving over 50 million investors every day. Whether you're planning for retirement, putting your kids through college, or saving up for your next adventure, Vanguard can help you set personalized investment goals. All investing is subject to risk. Vanguard is owned by its funds, which are owned by Vanguard's fund shareholder clients. Copyright 2024, The Vanguard Group, Inc., all rights reserved, Vanguard Marketing Corporation Distributor.
You're listening to 96.5 The Fan from the Mission Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling Studios. You're listening to the all-new 96.5 The Fan, your new home for Chiefs football. KFNZ, FM and AM, HD1 and HD2 Kansas City, an Odyssey sports station. Nobody in Kansas City has sports like 96.5 The Fan.
Right side throw, touchdown! Kansas City, a 3-yard touchdown pass in overtime. Kansas City wins the game.
Welcome into The Drive with Carrington Harrison.
Back-to-back best sports talk hosts as voted on in the Pitch magazine.
Live from the Fan Studios, here's CDOT.
Let's do this. Another day, another dollar, another edition of The Drive. You are listening to The Drive on 96.5 The Fan, 96.5thefan.com, and also the Odyssey app. My name is Carrington Harrison. Excited to be here with you on this wonderful red/blue Friday. There is so much to get into. We will talk some Royals baseball today, as the Royals are exactly one game out of the postseason. So if you don't know all the particulars, let me tell you what the particulars are. The Royals' magic number is 1. That means any combination of a Royals win or a Twins loss means that the Royals are going to the postseason. So the Royals could get swept this weekend in Atlanta. Certainly hope that's not the case, but if they got swept in Atlanta, they would need the Orioles to win at least one game against the Minnesota Twins. If that happens, the Royals are in the postseason. If not, who knows what happens? But that is at least the most basic way of explaining how the Royals can make it to the postseason. They just either have to win one of these games or they need the Twins to lose one of their next 3 games, and the Royals will be playing next Tuesday. We will find out if either they are going to Baltimore or Houston. We will talk about the Kansas City Chiefs as well. I don't think this game has a lot of buzz and juice about it. The Chargers are coming in really banged up. Herbert's banged up. Derwin James is out, but it is still a divisional game on the road. We'll spend a lot of time talking about that. Nate Taylor is going to join us in studio. We are going to take a trip to Los Angeles coming up here in just a bit with our guy Daniel Popper. There is so much to get into. We will start with the Royals today, but before we do any of that, Rob, take it away.
Pizza time on the drive. Carrington, dial me up right now. Caller number 6, 913-586-7965. Caller number 6 wins a pizza from our friends over at Pizza Tassio. Pizza Tassio is Kansas City's best New York-style pizza, and it has taken over the town. They use locally grown fresh ingredients, all made by KC guys who both know and love pizza. They also have a killer selection of craft and local beers, as well as unique wines. So whether you're hungry enough for a slice or maybe a whole pie, be sure to visit them now at pizzatasio.com. That's pizza, Tascio.com.
I need you guys to do me a couple of favors. Number 1, I need you listening to The Drive each day right here on 96.5 The Fan. Number 2, I need you to tell one friend. I don't need you to tell 2 friends that if you want some of the best pizza in the city and you're also excited about possibly the Royals and the Chiefs going to the postseason, and Mizzou going to the postseason, and K-State potentially going to the postseason. I don't know about that other team. I don't think they're eligible for the postseason, but that's neither here nor there. The best place to be is with us right here on 96.5 The Fan. You know what? We usually don't do this, but I would like to hand things off to Rob today for the open because Rob thinks that Major League Baseball made a big mistake. I would say the two biggest storylines as we head into the weekend regarding the Royals is the weather. The weather in the southeastern part of this country is probably the number one story in the country right now. And the Royals find themselves at the center of it. I would say the other story is, and we'll certainly talk about it, is what version of Travis Kelce are the Chiefs getting? I don't sense any worry from Chiefs fans about this game. I don't think that you should be worried about this game. The Chiefs are an 8.5 point favorite. They're playing a team that is completely banged up. They have won 9 in a row. They're the best team in the National Football League. There are going to be games that I'm going to be a little bit nervous. Last week against the Falcons was one of those games. I don't come into this week with any worry. I think the biggest questions with Kansas City are around Travis Kelce, and he spoke with the media earlier today. And also, how involved is Kareem Hunt going to be in the offense? I would say those are the two biggest stories heading into the weekend. But, Rob, let's start with you. You think that Major League Baseball made a mistake by how they're handling Royals and Braves?
Yeah, first and foremost, about the storm that's hitting the southeast part of the United States. I know there's a lot of flooding. I've seen stories about power outages in southeastern Georgia, in Asheville, North Carolina. So first and foremost, the human element of all this, that is what's most important, the people who are actually being affected by this storm beyond just baseball and sports and so on. But our job is the sports. Let's talk about it. Baseball is the king of no foresight, the absolute king of no foresight. Carrington, hurricanes are not like tornadoes. Hurricanes are things that you can plot and you can time. Hey, it's coming. It's going to hit on this day. It is this category. It is this level of problem. We've known this for a while about Helene hitting landfall. And yet, despite that knowledge on the Weather Channel or the local weather or your news station, whatever have you, baseball decided, hey, we're just going to see what happens. And because of that, now Mets and Braves are having a doubleheader on Monday, which could potentially screw the Braves with having to play a doubleheader the day before a potential wild card series. But it also makes tonight's game in peril. Now, we've now heard through the grapevine that we do believe tonight's game is being played, but if baseball had some foresight, this wouldn't have been a problem. You could have easily moved Mets-Braves doubleheader to last Monday when both teams had a mutual off day, and you could have sat down with the Braves and the Royals and said, hey, we need a neutral site for this weekend because there is a chance the hurricane really affects this game. We saw it in football last year. Remember, Browns and Bills was in Detroit because of the blizzard? This is normal for sports, but baseball didn't think forward, and they got caught with their pants down Thursday, Friday, and it might really affect very important games for the Royals and Braves in a playoff push.
This is where I will defend baseball a little bit, and I'm curious to get your thoughts on it. I don't know how they could have made the schedule work given when the playoffs start. The Major League Baseball playoffs start on Tuesday, so we are talking a very quick turnaround, and there's not a lot of empty days that you can move things around. If this weather happens in June or July, I think baseball has the inventory, has the space that you can make it work. But if you're talking about the final week of the season, and these 3 games don't just affect the 2 teams, they affect Minnesota. They affect the Mets. They affect the playoff picture. Who's going where? Who's home? Who's road? There are so many tentacles that kind of spawn off of these games. I think baseball was kind of put in a rough spot. So they're going to try to do a doubleheader on Monday with the Mets and the Braves. So I think that means that the wild card team, that team's going to end up playing on Wednesday. You kind of have to keep the competitive balance. You have to do things fair for everybody. There was no chance that they were going to give the Royals home games in these scenarios. That's a major advantage at this point of the season. The Royals could get swept in this series. So I don't think you could turn these from road games to home games. I also don't know if it's fair to the Braves, who got a chance to play in the postseason. All right, we're now going to have you play 3 doubleheaders over the course of a 7-day span so you guys can make sure that you get all 162 in. I think baseball, Rob, was kind of put in a very, very difficult spot because of the end of the season, the quick turnaround, and not wanting to completely alter the playoff schedule. This would be okay if you could move the playoffs back 3 or 4 days to accommodate the close of the regular season. But when your playoffs start 48 hours after your regular season ends, there just wasn't a whole lot of time, I thought, to get the games in correctly and how ideally I think everyone would like for them to.
There's no doubt time was a major impact on what happened here. I just feel like baseball could have known this was coming because the Weather Channel knew this was coming. News stations across the nation knew this was coming. We were talking in the newsroom a couple days ago. We share a newsroom with 98.1. We're talking to Dana and Parks. And they were talking about how this got upgraded, I believe it was Tuesday or Wednesday, to a Category 4 hurricane. If people in Kansas City newsrooms know that on Tuesday, Wednesday, meteorologists probably know it Monday, Tuesday. The Mets and Braves had a mutual off day last Monday. Now you're not bleeding into a potential Monday after the season date. That would have worked. I've looked at the days that could have made that work. And I know competitive advantage, the games could have never been in Kansas City, but you could have played these games in, you could have played these games and pick a town that's not in the Southeast. You could have played these games at, I guess, the White Sox park. You could have played these games at a neutral location and just say, hey, I'm sorry, we got to get to the 162 number, but we also have to protect that playoff schedule. We just saw football do this. We just saw it. And the Bills were in the midst of a playoff race, and so were the Browns. And yeah, it's a competitive disadvantage for both teams, and I believe they even played on like a Friday or something weird. We've seen this in football all the time. Remember, I think it was 10, 15 years ago, the Chiefs played a Friday night game on the road against the Dolphins because a hurricane was bearing down. And they thought, hey, we got to get this game in before the storm hits. That is a thing that happens in sports. But baseball just thought, ho-hum, we'll figure it out. And that is potentially screwing the Braves. And again, word is tonight's game is going to be played, but it could have potentially screwed the Royals.
Coming up in just a bit, we're going to be joined by Daniel Popper. He covers the Chargers for The Athletic. We will talk more about this coming up in a bit. But I will say this. This feels like it is primed for a Travis Kelce bounce-back game. Travis Kelce in his last 4 games against the Chargers, he has 33 catches for 536 yards and 6 touchdowns. Derwin James, the very talented safety for the Chargers, is suspended and out for this game. If there is a Travis Kelce bounce-back narrative to create, isn't it this game? It is starting to turn into a story. I told you guys a couple of weeks ago that this conversation wasn't just going to be Chiefs fans. It was going to turn into a national conversation. That is starting to get louder. Let us get through a month of football and Travis Kelce has 100 yards receiving. You think it's at a 7 or an 8 now. It will only continue to get louder. Pat will be asked more questions about it. Andy Reid will also be asked more questions about it. Some of this is just natural sports. Some of this is due to the fact of this just isn't a ESPN story. This is a TMZ story now about Travis Kelce. This is a People magazine story. He has become one of the 3 most popular players in the NFL. So anything that he does, both positively and negatively, is going to be covered through that lens. Travis Kelce, and I would say the team, in terms of a conversation around them, could really use a Travis Kelce game. I don't think you need him to go out and have 110 yards and 3 touchdowns. 4 catches, 70 yards, 1 touchdown. That is a bounce-back game. It quiets all of this conversation. There's no more noise around Travis Kelce. Him doing a press conference today was a direct response to what everybody is saying about the way that he is playing. You can't really see it any other way. Hey, everybody else is asking questions about Travis. Why doesn't Travis just answer questions about himself? We'll play for you what he had to say, but first, let's go to Los Angeles, California, and be joined by Daniel Popper of The Athletic. We'll get his thoughts on the Chargers. We'll learn more about their injuries and what chance does he give them on Sunday. Keep it right here. It's The Drive.
The Drive with Carrington Harrison on your new home for Chiefs football. 96.5, The Fan, brought to you by DM Injury Law. Have you or a loved one been in a car wreck? Contact DM Injury Law today and get the money you deserve. Car wreck? Remember, Mike's got this.
Many of us are looking forward to retirement. But when it's time to tap into your savings, do you know how long your money will last? Make a game plan for your retirement income distribution from UMB Private Wealth. They'll create a custom strategy for you to help make your hard-earned retirement savings last. Just go to umb.com/private wealth to schedule your personal appointment. That's umb.com/private wealth.
What does it mean to be the official information technology provider for the Chiefs? It means everything. Technology Group Solutions makes sure everything runs flawlessly for the millions of fans that attend games and the hundreds of millions of fans that comprise Chiefs Kingdom around the world. Technology Group Solutions can deploy that same dedication, problem solving, and incredible service to ensure your business runs smoothly. Technology Group Solutions, powering Chiefs Kingdom, and ready to do the same for you.
The NFL is flying by, but you still have time to start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. We got the Chiefs and Chargers this weekend. I got Travis Kelce with an anytime touchdown. I've got Carson Steele over the rushing yards, and I've got Patrick Mahomes over the passing yards, plus the Chiefs on the money line. Just visit FanDuel.com/610Bob to make every moment more this season. FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL and 96.5 The Fan. 21 and present in Kansas. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino, LLC. Gambling problem? Getting help is your best bet. Call 1-800-522-4700 or visit ksgamblinghelp.com.
Your coworkers might annoy you, but we promise we won't. Download the free Odyssey app and you can listen to us at work while you tackle your inbox or get ready for another meeting that probably could have been an email. Tune in late? You can rewind your favorite live shows to catch what you missed. And with Chapters, easily jump to the topics that you care about most, like the latest updates from your team. Your sports talk, your way. The Odyssey app. Download it today.
This is the story of the one. As a warehouse manager, her job is to transform chaos into clarity and to see patterns where others see problems. Luckily, she's got a partner who shares her perspective. Grainger offers over 1 million industrial-grade products, backed by real person support and in-depth online resources, so she can tackle every task with precision and turn potential setbacks into streamlined success. Call clickgrainger.com or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Pizza just goes better with Pepsi Zero Sugar.
Pizza. Thank you.
But don't take our word for it. In fact, don't take any words for it. Crispy and cheesy, paired with delicious and refreshing. My mouth is watering already. Ooh, too high. Yeah, we've all been there. Every bite is better with Pepsi.
Lowe's knows saving pros time and money means getting the job done easier. Right now, save 10% on Georgia Pacific vinyl siding panels. Plus, save an additional 20% when you buy in bulk. And get free same-day delivery to the job site when you order by 2 p.m. Because Lowe's knows savings. Lowe's knows pros. Offer valid through 9/4. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. Discount taken at time of purchase. See sales associate for details. Exclusions apply. See Lowe's.com/same-day delivery for details.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Using the Labor Day weekend to get some work done? We got you. Stop by any store to save on oil, fuel system cleaner, wipers, and more. Looking for an end-of-summer wash? We've got deals for that too. Don't want to leave the garage? Get same-day delivery on AutoZone.com. Do Labor Day your way by getting something done at AutoZone.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
Y'all want to hear about the AARP auto insurance program from the Hartford? Well, if you're age 50 or over, you could save hundreds when you switch. Are you ready for some exclusive discounts too? Phone's in the air now. We're going to sign you up, baby. Go to visithartfordauto.com today for your free quote.
When you're with the Hartford, the Bucks got your back. Provided by Hartford Fire Insurance Company, not AARP or its affiliates. Individual savings vary. The Hartford pays a royalty fee to AARP, which is used for external purposes. For information and restrictions, go to thehartford.com.
You're listening to 96.5 The Fan from the Mission Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling Studios.
Chiefs fans, it's George Karlaftis. Welcome to The Drive with Carrington Harrison on your home for Chiefs football. 96.5 The Fan.
Let's go to the phone lines right now and learn more about the Chiefs' Week 4 opponent. We'll head to Los Angeles to be joined by Daniel Popper. He covers the team for The Athletic. Daniel, man, happy to have you on the show today, man. We appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. Let's just start with the injury status right now of the Los Angeles Chargers. They seem to be one of the more banged-up teams in the National Football League.
Yeah, it's not looking great right now. Obviously, you start with the quarterback and Justin Herbert, who suffered a high ankle sprain in Week 2 against the Panthers, came back and played on it last week against the Steelers and aggravated it in the third quarter. The team is saying that MRI on Monday came back positive. He's been limited in practice the past 2 weeks, but he has not been out there for the open period of practice available to the media, so hard to really gauge how he's moving on it. So you start there. Joey Bosa has a hip injury, one of the top 2 edge rushers, and then they could be without, unlikely will be without, both of their starting tackles, and Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt. Alt has a sprained MCL. Slater has a strained pec. We've seen Alt on the field working a little bit with the trainers. We have not seen Rashawn Slater out there. So those 4 guys, you're talking about 4 of their best players. And then you add in Junior Colson, a linebacker, and some other guys that are dinged up right now. It's not a great situation for the Chargers as they enter this game.
Daniel, let's remove the Herbert component from it, just being the quarterback. I think that's the correct answer. Which of those other injuries do you think is most important for this matchup? Do you think it's Alt, the top 10 pick? Do you think it's Rashawn Slater, another first-round pick, offensive lineman, or do you think it's Bosa? Which injury is the most impactful for this game?
Yeah, I mean, I got to go with the 2 tackles because it really throws things into a bind for them up front. Joe Alt was playing some solid football. I think people are maybe getting ahead of their skis a little bit because in that Steelers game, they gave help to him on a dozen snaps against T.J. Watt. He was not one-on-one very often. But you talk about losing 2 all-pro caliber tackles, and the guys that are going to replace him are not nearly as good. You're talking about potentially kicking Trey Pipkins back out to tackle where he's played previously. He was starting at right guard this season. At left tackle, we've seen Jamari Salyer there, who has played there before, but really is a better fit at guard. He doesn't really have the movement to play at tackle. And then you have Foster Sorrell, a guy who's played a little bit in the past, but there's going to be a real issue in terms of how they're able to pass protect with those 2 tackles being down.
Right now, we're talking to Daniel Popper. He is with The Athletic, getting his thoughts on the Los Angeles Chargers as we get you ready for Week 4, Chiefs and Chargers. The Chargers are 2-1. They have a win over the Raiders. They have another win over Carolina. They lost last week to Pittsburgh. I know it's kind of difficult to say with the injuries that they have, but how real is this Chargers team? They got off to a good start, but it looks like the injuries could derail this season.
Yeah, I think we're going to find out on Sunday. I mean, offensively, I kind of have a better idea of what they are on that side of the ball, if they're fully healthy, obviously. But I've seen some promising signs from the running game in those first 3 weeks. Obviously, bringing in Greg Roman, Jim Harbaugh, that's how they're going to want to play. I think Justin Herbert has played some good football. They're lacking at receiver in terms of people that can really win one-on-ones and separate in that area. But I think they're okay offensively. Defensively, I have absolutely no idea because they go out and they play Gardner Minshew. They play Bryce Young, and he gets benched after that game. And then you go up against Justin Fields, who I thought played well, but obviously those 3 guys aren't testing your defense. I think heading into this one, you're going to get a real sense of what they are defensively and if they're real on that side of the ball. The statistics would tell you that they're one of the best defenses in the league. You watch the film, and they're a much more physical team than they've ever really been since I started covering them in 2019 on that side of the ball. But this is the test, right? You go in, you play Patrick Mahomes, you play Andy Reid, and you get a real sense of where you are. Now, how much can you really take away when they're down Joey Bosa? And then one guy we haven't mentioned is Derwin James, who's suspended for this game after getting his 5th unnecessary roughness call in 2 seasons. Obviously a guy that, particularly with how Jesse Minter, the defensive coordinator, is using his pieces, would probably have been matched up against Travis Kelce pretty regularly in this game, something we've seen in the past. So down 2 defensive stars, how much of a sense can you really get? But that's what I'll be watching in this game because I don't know if they're really real or not on that side of the ball.
You mentioned no Derwin James. I was going to get to that. What do you think that means for their ability to slow down Travis Kelce? I know he's gotten off to a slow start, but he has been kryptonite for the Los Angeles Chargers, and Derwin James has usually been the one that has been tasked with shadowing Travis Kelce. How confident are you in the Chargers' ability to kind of defend the middle of the field without James present?
Yeah, I mean, I think heading into this game, that really would have been the plan because they've been using James sort of as that chess piece. You know, he was really matched up with Brock Bowers a bunch in that week 1 game against the Raiders, and they're trying to get him into matchups that they feel like can really elevate him. So instead of that being the plan, it seems like it's going to be more of a all-hands-on-deck scenario. They have Alohi Gilman, who Chiefs fans should be familiar with. He's in his 5th season with the Chargers. They traded for Elijah Molden late in August with the Titans. They gave up a 7th-round pick for him, and he's actually been really good kind of in that third safety role. Alohi Gilman missed week 2, and Molden started and actually had a pick. So those are going to be the 2 guys. And then the third guy could be Tony Jefferson, obviously a veteran. They also have A.J. Finley, a young guy who actually had a pretty decent training camp, who was going to be the third safety before they traded for Elijah Molden. So I think you're going to see – those guys are all versatile. You know, Elijah Molden can play dime, slot, deep field safety. A.J. Finley can play all 3. So I think what they're going to try and do is all hands on deck, get kind of creative with their disguises, move those pieces around to different positions, and try and maybe buy an extra count for the pass rush as Mahomes drops back and looks for Kelsey.
Right now, we're talking to Daniel Popper, who covers the Los Angeles Chargers. They play the Chiefs this weekend. Daniel, what changes have you noticed as an organization, as a coaching staff, now bringing Harbaugh in? That was the big home run swing, attracting him from Michigan. I think he's one of the top 5 football coaches in the world, not just NFL coaches. When you've seen what he's done at every single level, that's a big deal to go get him. What changes have you noticed with the Chargers?
Yeah, I think off the field, a lot of people use the buzzword culture. You know, what I've been sort of watching is like, what does that really mean? And how does Harbaugh, who's obviously a great culture builder, go about doing that? The one thing I've noticed is that he really is in there in the trenches with his players. And some of this stuff is kind of silly. Like he's out there in the spring and summer doing, you know, strength and conditioning drills with the players after practice. And he's on the field before games with, you know, football gloves on, catching passes in cleats, you know, from his quarterbacks before games and stuff like that. And you might look at it and be like, this is a little corny, but I think the players really buy into it because they feel like he cares as much as they do. The other thing that I think has really jumped out now that we have sort of 3 games worth of film, and I sort of touched on this earlier, there is a level of physicality that they are playing with on both sides of the ball that just wasn't present under Brandon Staley. It is like the most important thing that Jim Harbaugh is trying to instill in the roster and in the players. And just talking to guys in the locker room, like there's a standard now. Like you have to play with a certain physical mentality on the field or you're not going to get on the field and probably not be part of this organization moving forward. So I think culture building has been a big part of it. And then sort of setting that standard as far as play style and physicality. Those are the 2 things that I've really noticed.
Daniel, looking at the offense, J.K. Dobbins has gotten off to a really good start. He's been one of the better running backs so far this season. Quentin Johnston, when you and I talked last year, fans were a little bit disappointed with what they were getting from him. He's been fine so far through this season. This Chargers team feels like they have a little bit more weaponry than we thought they were going to.
Yeah, I think you've seen Quentin take some significant steps. I mean, the things that I'm sure we talked about last year were, you know, he lacked refinement, detail, deception, the route running, the hands weren't where they needed to be. I also think that the previous coaching staff wasn't necessarily using him correctly to put his skill set in a position to really express itself and elevate and shine. And so I think what you're seeing this year is a guy that's a better route runner. He's obviously focused in on the details, and he's much more deceptive in his releases, how he runs his routes, his understanding of where to be and leverages and all of that. And then the Chargers are using him in better situations. They've upped his number of crossing routes, drag routes, slants, things over the middle, and they've lowered his posts and goes. And I think you're seeing a player that's improved, that is also being used more properly. And he's been good through these first few weeks. You know, Josh Palmer's been banged up. I was sort of expecting him to have a bigger role this season, just obviously with Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, both, you know, Keenan traded, Mike released. And then the other guy I would bring up is, and we'll see if Josh Palmer plays this week. He didn't play last week. But Ladd McConkey's also looked really good. Their 2nd-round pick, who's really, you know, been, you know, primarily used in the slot, but he's a fantastic route runner. And I think he really popped off the film in that Steelers game with his a little more physicality than I was expecting, but then his ability to really operate on 3rd downs, find those soft spots and zones, win in man coverage on slant routes and things over the middle. So they do have some juice there. I don't know if it's going to be enough to get them to where they want to be offensively, but definitely some promising signs.
I got 2 final questions here, Daniel. The first one is, give me an X factor. Give me somebody that Chiefs fans should be kind of looking for on that Chargers team, whether it's on offense or defense, that you can make plays and maybe help pull off an upset.
Yeah, I mean, I think the pass rush is going to be really important, you know, trying to get Mahomes off the spot, but more importantly, being disciplined in how you rush. obviously you can't be over aggressive in your rush and give him lanes to escape and create those explosives off script. So obviously Khalil Mack is going to be who he is. The other guy that's going to be starting in this game with Joey Bosa likely out is Tuli Tuipulotu, who was a rookie last year. Now, can he, be the guy when he has one-on-ones on that side to really create havoc and rush with discipline? That's a guy I'll be watching, because going to that Steelers game, Bosa got hurt on the first play, and Khalil was getting double and triple teamed on every single snap. And I assume if Bosa's out, that's how the Chiefs will attack it. They're not going to let 52 wreck the game. So somebody on the other side, I think it'll be Tuli Tuipulotu. They also have Bud Dupree. Someone's going to have to be able to win one-on-ones over there and create some havoc and also rush with discipline to prevent Mahomes from escaping and really thriving in those off-script situations.
Daniel, last thing here. Give me a Chiefs win-if scenario. Give me a Chargers win-if scenario.
I think Chargers win if they can run the ball effectively, and if their offensive line that's a little bit banged up is able to keep Herbert upright and prevent him from being knocked out of this game. And defensively just, protecting the deep part of the field and really limiting those explosive plays. And on the flip side, I think if the Chiefs are able to, as always, get outside the pocket and create some of those explosive and off-script situations, like we've seen so many of these games tight, and those plays ultimately end up deciding the game. So for the Chargers, the key is, you're going to have these disguises, you're going to have your calls defensively, you're going to play all these varieties of coverage, you're going to try and create some confusion. Sometimes you can execute that properly, and then the second play is where the Chiefs are able to really, create damage. So being sticky after the play gets to that second part and, not allowing receivers to get open down the field in those off-script situations.
That is Daniel Popper joining us on the show today. He covers the Los Angeles Chargers, the Chiefs' Week 4 opponent. Daniel, great stuff as always, man. I'll catch up with you in a couple months whenever these two teams play again.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. That's Daniel Popper joining us on the show today. Rob, I'm not sure if you have looked at the injury report for the Los Angeles Chargers. Let me give you their Thursday injury report because the Friday one is not out. Listen to this. Joe Alt did not practice. Joey Bosa did not practice. Junior Colson out. Limited participants. Christian Fulton, Justin Herbert, Khalil Mack was a full participant. Trey Pipkins, one of their tackles, he was a limited participant. Rashawn Slater, a DMP in this one. I just gave you some of the names. There were more names than that for guys that were just limited participants and did not participate in the Chargers practice. Usually, these two teams play tightly contested games. I know you guys laugh and joke and call me Chargers, but that is not an opinion. That is a fact. These teams, when they go up against each other, they are usually one-possession games. It's just kind of hard to see the Chargers winning this game with the amount of injuries that they have right now. You're not beating the Chiefs if you don't have your starting left tackle and right tackle, if you don't have your number one corner going in this game, if your quarterback is dealing with a high ankle sprain the way that the Chargers are. It's just hard to kind of find a scenario in which the Chargers can pull off this upset and beat Kansas City, because I just don't think they have the bodies right now. I just don't think that they have the manpower, Rob, to think that the Chargers are in a position where they could pull off the upset and beat Kansas City on Sunday.
It's like same old story, right, Carrington? How many times have we talked about going into a Charger game? Well, the Chargers are beat up and the Chiefs are more healthy, so it should clearly favor one team. I feel like that's the story every single Charger game. Isn't that the whole point of chargering? But this injury report is bad. Like, let's put Herbert to the side because we all know how bad that can be. No Alt, no tackles, Fulton's a corner, potentially no Bosa. Like, these are not just like they're missing guys. They're not just missing human bodies out there. It's not like, one of your rotational linebackers isn't going to play. Your nickel corner's banged up. These are the pillars of their team and their organization and what they're trying to build. With the injury report the way it is hard to envision a scenario, even with how tough the Chargers have historically played the Chiefs, that beat-up ragtag group can go and win a game against the Chiefs, who are near clean bill of health outside of Hollywood Brown. Basically, everyone is playing this week. It's hard to envision a scenario where that group loses to the Chargers.
One thing I have noticed in our conversations about the Chargers is how often the word physical comes up. That when you bring Harbaugh in from Michigan, there is a certain level of physicality that you want to provide Are you not seeing the cost of some of that? When you look at their injury report, and damn near the whole team is on there, maybe that is the cost of, in year one, trying to establish that mindset, trying to establish that physicality, trying to establish that toughness. Some guys are going to miss time. Everybody is dealing with injuries, even though it's early on in the season. Kansas City has injuries, so they are not feeling bad for you that you are missing these guys. But, man, you're going into a game against the best team in the National Football League. You are missing 40% of your offensive line. Your quarterback is not 100% right now, and your best defensive player is not out. You just don't have the bodies. You just don't have them, I think, to go up and beat Kansas City. So we'll see what happens. Usually this is, I would say, a game that you have to circle because of how competitive it is. I'm just not really sure if that's the case right now, given all of the injuries that the Chargers have right now. We'll give you our parlay coming up in a bit. We'll also go through some of the top storylines for Sunday in the National Football League. I do want to play for you guys a couple of pieces of audio. We will play Travis Kelce coming up at the top of the hour. I do want you guys to hear what he had to say. Here is Patrick Mahomes talking about Travis Kelce and if a 25-year-old tight end would be doing this.
In all honesty, I think he's always been this guy. I mean, it's been great for me in my career is that he wants to make an impact in the game and he wants to make plays, but he wants to win at the end of the day. And so if we're winning, he's good with going out there and playing hard, blocking, do whatever he can to impact the game. And so whenever we're winning games like this, that's everybody, man. You just want to win at the end of the day. And so he's doing a great job, man, of being a leader on the team, playing hard, doing whatever he can to make an impact in the game. And when you do that in this league, usually good things come, and I'm excited for him to go out there and make an impact receiving the ball as well.
I want to play one more cut for you guys. This is Andy Reid talking about Travis Kelce. So you just heard from the quarterback. Here's the head coach about the slow start their tight end has gotten off to.
Yeah, so, I know people are saying that he's old or whatever, has distractions and all this, and the defenses don't think that. And so we have another receiver that plays opposite him that has a lot of yards and catches, and that's how this thing goes. So Trav is fine. He just keeps being Trav. He works his tail off, and he hasn't lost a step and all those things. And he's not distracted. That's not the case. People are making sure they have him taken care of by some of these defenses.
I do think that the entire conversation around Kelce is a very interesting one, and I obviously understand the Chiefs' position. It's not age. He's the same tight end that we've seen. He's not distracted. He's being defended very differently. Like the Chiefs clearly have, this is their official stance on Travis Kelce, his production, and moving forward. Okay, we'll see. The only part I don't really like in this, and I would say at this point it's a very small complaint, is I kind of know what my eyes are telling me, and we have seen Travis Kelce over the course of the last decade be one of the most unguardable players in the National Football League. There have